Ozzy Osbourne, known as the father of heavy metal and the Prince of Darkness, has passed away at 76. In rock history, few names have left a mark as deep as Ozzy's. He wasn't just a music icon, he was a legend, admired and loved all over the world. But in the final weeks of his life, things weren't quite what many might picture for a star of his stature. In those moments, the man once called the Prince of Darkness no longer cared about fame or public attention. Ozzy Osbourne, the father of heavy metal and the Prince of Darkness, has passed away at the age of 76. Few names in rock history have left a legacy as powerful as his. He wasn't just a music icon, but a legend admired and loved across the world. Yet in the final weeks of his life, Ozzy was no longer concerned with fame or the spotlight. Instead, his heart was focused on one deeply personal wish, something only his wife Sharon could help fulfill. This wish wasn't ordinary. It was so meaningful that it defined his last days and gave him a sense of peace. If Ozzy's legacy has ever touched you, made you laugh, think, or feel inspired, show your support by liking this video and subscribing so you won't miss more unforgettable stories. And don't forget to leave a 1 in the comments if you feel connected to Ozzy, or a 0 if you see it differently. Now, let's step into this moving story and uncover what truly brought the Prince of Darkness peace in the final chapter of his life. He was also one of the funniest people I've ever met. I will miss him dearly. These heartfelt words from Sir Rod Stewart weren't just an expression of grief from a close friend, but also a reflection of the deep respect he held for Ozzy Osbourne. To those who knew and worked with Ozzy, he wasn't only a music legend, he was also a down-to-earth man who filled every room with laughter. Rod Stewart, a longtime companion in the music world, shared his farewell with emotion. "Farewell, Ozzy. Sleep well, my friend. See you on the other side." His words were more than a tribute. They captured the profound sorrow of losing a friend and fellow artist who had been by his side for so many years. The sense of loss wasn't limited to Rod Stewart. Countless artists across different genres paid tribute to Ozzy, recognizing the lasting influence he had on their own careers. Among them was Ronnie Wood of the Rolling Stones, who called Ozzy a true legend of Birmingham, not only for his music, but for the way he helped shape and define the city's cultural identity. Wood praised Ozzy's rare gift for creating and inspiring the musical culture we know today. His words weren't just about honoring Ozzy's talent, they reflected a deep respect for the enormous contributions Ozzy made in laying the groundwork for future generations. Ozzy didn't just touch the lives of fans around the world. He left an unforgettable mark on his peers, colleagues, and closest friends. Metallica, one of the bands that took the stage at the Villa Park concert, paid tribute to Ozzy Osbourne in a way that was simple, yet incredibly moving for millions of fans. They shared a photo with Ozzy, accompanied only by a broken heart emoji. That single symbol spoke volumes, a universal sign of grief and respect for a fallen legend. Though brief, the gesture carried powerful meaning. It wasn't just a show of admiration, it was an acknowledgement of Ozzy's profound influence on the world of rock and metal. Coming from one of the genre's greatest bands, this tribute honored a pioneer who reshaped the music landscape and left behind a legacy that can never be forgotten. Ozzy Osbourne, through his extraordinary contributions, was more than just a famous name. He was a living icon of rock. For over 5 decades, he poured his energy into creating and performing, helping shape and expand a genre that would go on to influence the entire world. The tributes from Metallica and countless other artists stand as proof of his pioneering role in music. A man whose influence and legacy will continue to inspire fans and future generations of musicians alike. Though Ozzy is no longer with us, the music, the culture, and the spirit he left behind will live on forever. Ozzy Osbourne's collaborations stretched across generations, from classic rock legends to modern metal bands, and his impact went far beyond music, reaching deep into popular culture itself. Every new wave of artists carries a piece of Ozzy's influence, the mark of a true pioneer who redefined what rock and metal could be. His final weeks weren't just a period of mourning for fans and the music community. They were also a profound reminder that the world was witnessing the closing of one of the greatest chapters in music history. Even in grief, the industry could not overlook the priceless contributions Ozzy left behind. In interviews, Sharon revealed that Ozzy had shared something deeply private with her, a request she promised to honor. "He wanted me to do something for him that only I could do," she said, without disclosing further details. Her words underscored just how significant her role was during Ozzy's final weeks. Sharon wasn't only his caregiver. She was the person he trusted most, the one entrusted with fulfilling his last wishes, and the one who truly understood the profound weight behind what he had asked of her. Friends and family later recalled how Sharon Osbourne stayed unwaveringly focused during this time, quietly working behind the scenes and using every resource available to make sure Ozzy's wishes were honored. Even in the midst of heartbreaking circumstances, she showed remarkable resilience, caring for him not only physically, but emotionally, ensuring that every detail of his final requests was fulfilled. Her devotion in those last days was more than the love between two people. It was the reflection of a family bound together by love, loyalty, and deep understanding. In Ozzy's final days, the Osbourne family gathered closely around him. His children, Kelly, Jack, Amy, and his two older children, Jessica and Lewis, visited often, knowing how meaningful those moments truly were. These were sacred days, with the whole family united in love, treasuring every second together. For a man who had once invited the world into his chaotic family life through the Osbournes, his last chapter was far more private and intimate. Surrounded by his loved ones, Ozzy spent those final days in peace, wrapped in the unconditional love and deep respect of the family who cherished him most. Publicly, few people truly knew what was happening behind closed doors. To the outside world, Ozzy was simply a man whose health had visibly declined, someone fighting through the challenges of his final days. But what the world didn't see were the quiet preparations, the deeply personal conversations, and the weight Sharon carried as she readied herself for the most defining moment of Ozzy's last chapter. This wasn't a story about fame, money, or headlines. It wasn't what the media captured or what fans expected. At its core, this was a story of love, sacrifice, and the profound care taken to prepare for the farewell of the man she loved. The way Ozzy left this world reflected the person he had always been, resilient, strong, and full of character. Sharon understood this better than anyone, having been by his side through every challenge. Ozzy didn't want to be remembered as the man with Parkinson's. He refused to be defined by weakness or frailty. For his final act, he wanted to live, and to leave the world as the Prince of Darkness, a symbol of strength and an unbreakable spirit, not as a shadow of illness. This was more than a wish. It was a message he wanted to imprint on the hearts and memories of his fans and loved ones alike. Although Sharon kept the details of Ozzy's final wish private, she made it clear that she would stop at nothing to make it a reality. She promised to do everything possible for him to leave this world with the dignity he deserved, not as a frail or weakened man, but as the legend he had always been. strong, free, and powerful to the very end. Her devotion reflected not only the depth of her love, but also a profound truth. Sometimes, the greatest act of respect for a loved one isn't just in physical care, but in honoring the life, wishes, and dignity they worked so hard to build. In a deeply moving revelation, Ozzy Osbourne's final wish wasn't to quietly step away from the world. It was to return to where it all began, Birmingham, for one last performance. This was more than a simple desire to play music. It was a profound need to reconnect with his roots, the city that had shaped him and nurtured his journey. Sharon, his devoted wife and constant companion, revealed that Ozzy's greatest wish in his final weeks was to stand on stage in his hometown one last time. It wasn't just about honoring his legendary career. It was about sharing a final, heartfelt moment with his close friends, loyal fans, and everyone who had supported him throughout his life. Surrounded by his bandmates and the fans who had defined his career, Ozzy wanted to feel their love and energy one last time. This wasn't just a concert, it was a celebration of everything he had given to music and the rock community. Sharon knew that making this wish a reality wouldn't be simple, but she understood that this was exactly how Ozzy wanted to close the final chapter of his life, with a farewell that was meaningful, complete, and true to the man he had always been. On July 5, 2025, Ozzy Osbourne's final wish came true. Sharon organized a concert called Back to the Beginning at Villa Park, transforming the home stadium of Aston Villa Football Club into a sacred stage for heavy metal. The event was more than a celebration of Ozzy's legendary career. It was a reunion with his Black Sabbath bandmates, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, coming together for the first time in 20 years. This wasn't just a long-awaited reunion. It was an emotional farewell, a final performance from the men who had forever changed the history of rock music. The July 5th event at Villa Park, remembered as Ozzy's final performance, sent ripples of admiration throughout the music world. 40,000 fans filled the stadium, with millions more watching through live streams. It was a concert of unparalleled impact, a once-in-a-lifetime experience for everyone present. With every note and every lyric, Ozzy and his bandmates brought to life a monumental chapter of rock history, leaving a lasting mark on fans and the music world alike. Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Slayer, and Anthrax all took the stage as supporting acts, paying tribute to Ozzy Osbourne, the man who helped define the heavy metal genre. These legendary bands weren't just colleagues. They were artists, profoundly shaped by Ozzy's trailblazing career. Together, they created a charged, emotional musical atmosphere, where every note and riff reflected their admiration for the man who had influenced them all. The only place we could do this is Aston, because that's where Ozzy was born and raised, Sharon said. Her words were more than an introduction. They were a testament to Ozzy's deep love for his hometown and the bond that had shaped his life and music. Sharon also shared that from the very beginning of planning the concert, she had envisioned inviting all the bands Ozzy had ever collaborated with to perform, celebrating both Black Sabbath classics and his solo hits. It became a music festival, Sharon said, highlighting how meaningful this event was, not just for Ozzy, but for the entire metal community. This wasn't simply a concert. It was a living celebration of music history, a gathering where artists came together to honor and reaffirm the enduring legacy of a true legend. When Ozzy appeared, seated on a black throne at the center of the stage, the crowd erupted in a deafening roar. For many, The sight was striking and unforgettable. A man whose body had been worn by illness, yet whose presence remained larger than life, an unstoppable icon. He sat like a king of rock, a living legend, radiating a resilience and spirit that no one could ignore. Fans didn't just see an artist, they witnessed a myth brought to life. When he spoke, opening the show with the emotional words, "Mom, I'm home," his voice trembled with feeling. Little did anyone know at the time, this would be the final moment Ozzy would return to the place where it all began. After that moment, Ozzy found his signature strength and launched into the iconic vocals of Crazy Train. In that instant, music wasn't just part of his life, it was his very breath. "You have no idea how I feel. Thank you from the bottom of my heart," he told the crowd, his voice brimming with emotion and gratitude. The 40,000 fans at Villa Park responded with thunderous applause. This wasn't merely a concert, it was a festival of love, honor, and celebration for a true legend. Ozzy showed that even as his body grew frail, his spirit, his presence, and his influence would live on forever in the hearts of those who cherished him. Black Sabbath's setlist drew from their early classics, the songs that had become the cornerstone of their legendary career. War Pigs, Iron Man, Paranoid. These weren't just tracks, they were timeless pieces of rock history. Though the performance was brief, it carried a profound sense of finality, with every note evoking decades of memories and the band's incredible journey. Fireworks lit up the night sky, casting a mystical, almost magical glow as the band took their final bow, a heartfelt farewell to a career spanning more than 50 years. This wasn't just a concert, it was a festival of memory, a celebration of music, and a tribute to the enduring legacy of Ozzy and Black Sabbath. Although the concert was organized as a charity fundraiser, raising an incredible $189 million, its true purpose was far more personal. For Ozzy, this wasn't just a celebration of his legendary career, it was a moment to express his heartfelt gratitude to everyone who had shared in his journey. Beyond the adoration and admiration of fans and the music community, this concert was Ozzy's own intimate farewell, a chance to savor the final moments of his remarkable life and career and to say goodbye on his own terms. This was Ozzy's farewell, the final wish he had carried in his heart for years. He had long known that his time was limited, yet instead of fear or despair, it fueled his determination to fulfill his greatest dream, to leave this world on his own terms. Not quietly, not hidden away by illness or frailty, but with a grand performance, singing and playing on stage before the fans who had shared in his triumphs and his journey. This was the request he made to Sharon, his devoted partner who had stood by him through every high and low. His only desire was one final performance, one last bow on stage, the place where it all began, where music had defined his life. Sharon brought Ozzy back home, surrounded by the people and music that had defined his life. In that deeply emotional moment, she tearfully shared, "He wanted me to remind him of his true self." Her words reflected not only the depth of her love, but also the promise she had kept, to help Ozzy leave this world with honor and dignity. After a lifetime spent giving music and emotion to the world, Ozzy returned to his roots, to the place where it all began. In every sense, it was a perfect farewell, closing an extraordinary era of rock music and the final chapter in the life of a true legend. On July 22, 2025, just 17 days after his final performance, Ozzy Osbourne passed away at the age of 76. His family shared the news in a heartfelt statement, mourning the loss of a man who had touched countless lives. This was not only a loss for his loved ones, but for the entire music world, a legend gone, leaving an irreplaceable void in the hearts of fans everywhere. Yet Ozzy's spirit will live on forever, in his music, in the timeless songs he created, and in the memories he left behind for everyone who witnessed the extraordinary life and career of a true icon. With immeasurable sadness, our family is heartbroken to announce that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne passed away this morning. He returned to his family, embraced by boundless love. Ozzy's passing leaves a void that cannot be filled, yet he left this world peacefully, surrounded by those who cherished him most. Tributes have poured in from across the globe, reflecting the respect and admiration people felt for him. From devoted fans to fellow musicians, everyone shares the same profound sense of loss for a true legend. Ronnie Wood of the Rolling Stones called Ozzy the undefeated king of heavy metal, a fitting tribute to a man who reshaped the very face of the genre. Sir Elton John, a close friend, was visibly moved, describing Ozzy as a true legend and a friend he would always cherish. These words reflect the profound respect and affection that fellow artists held for Ozzy, not just as a legendary musician, but as a loyal and sincere friend over many years. Tony Iommi, Ozzy's Black Sabbath bandmate and longtime friend, mourned the loss deeply, sharing with sadness, "I can't believe it." "My dear friend Ozzy passed away just weeks after our show at Villa Park," Tony Iommi wrote. "This is heartbreaking, and I can't put it into words. No one will ever be like him. Geezer, Bill, and I have lost our brother." Ozzy's passing transformed the meaning of the Villa Park concert. What had once been seen as a grand celebration of rock's greatest names became, in retrospect, a deeply poignant farewell. From friends, bandmates, and colleagues who had helped write the golden chapters of music history. It wasn't just a fundraising concert or a reunion. It was the final chapter of an extraordinary life. That night became a legendary moment, where Ozzy Osbourne not only said goodbye to his fans, but also to the city and the legacy he had built over more than 50 years. His final wish had been fulfilled, a deeply personal, emotional farewell that allowed him to leave on his own terms. Sharon, his lifelong partner who had stood by him through every high and low, ensured that Ozzy's wish was fully realized, letting him depart surrounded by honor, love, and the music that had defined his life. Ozzy Osbourne leaves behind his wife Sharon, their children Kelly, Jack, and Amy, as well as Jessica and Louis from his first marriage. He also leaves several grandchildren who will carry forward his remarkable legacy. Though Ozzy is gone, his family and all who loved him will continue to honor the monumental music he created. Having dedicated his entire life to music, Ozzy will forever be remembered as an irreplaceable legend in the history of rock and heavy metal. Ozzy's music, his influence, and his final farewell performance in Birmingham will be forever etched in music history. It was a truly remarkable moment, a triumphant last show where Ozzy said goodbye in a way only he could. Do you think this was the perfect way for the legendary rocker to close the final chapter of his life? If Ozzy Osbourne's story inspired or moved you, leave a comment with a 1 or a 0 if you feel differently. Share your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss more fascinating stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.